What's up, AfterBuzzers? You're watching The Family Season 1, Episode 5, I Win. Be sure to stay tuned for Abby and I to break down all the craziness from tonight's episode.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, oh my gosh, another amazing and crazy episode of The Family. So excited to talk about it tonight.
So excited.
I missed last week and I could not bear it because last week's was crazy too.
It was crazy.
I mean, Hank is like in pieces right now. Are you kidding me?
He's a mess.
I know. I'm your host, April Whisenhant. Thank you for joining us. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, basically everywhere at April Whisenhant, joined always by my lovely co-host, Abby Vega.
Hey, I'm Abby Vega. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
As always, you can find us all at AfterBuzz TV, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Be sure to download on iTunes, SoundCloud, like and comment because we really want to hear what you have to say. Abby has the chat up, so just click the link that both of us just tweeted and let us know what you thought about the episode because lots of stuff, lots of theories rolling around in our minds tonight. Yeah. What did you think about tonight's episode?
All the action was pretty much left till the end.
Yeah.
You know, I felt during the episode as a whole, there wasn't as much excitement. There were a couple things, but all the information and stuff you need to know, I feel like came right at the last couple minutes.
That's true. Did you think that that John actually beat Hank?
No, I never thought that. I said that last week too. It was just one of those things that was too easy. It was too easy for you to think it was John. I'm like, there's no way.
I fully believed
you thought
it. I definitely thought it.
I know John. He wouldn't do that.
Of course.
He wouldn't do that.
I just thought the way that they put it last week, and of course y'all talked about it, I know, but I have to talk about it because I was like, what? But I just thought, I never pictured him doing it to himself. I'm like, what's the purpose of that?
Yeah,
but
that
obviously
was
we
nuts.
found out tonight. It was just crazy. We start off the episode with Hank as a child, which I've always kind of pictured Hank as a little bit of a creepy kid because he's a creepy kind of man. And he's having trouble with the kids at school and they're beating him up. And his mom just says like, oh, they're all jealous. Of course, like the typical mom stuff.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like we get a glimpse into the beginnings of what made Hank who he is today.
Yeah.
Not to say, I mean, like, clearly he makes his own decisions and does some hella creepy stuff, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and also, fun fact, I learned this because the guy who plays Hank, Adam McCarthy, I think his name is, his real-life son played the young Hank in this episode.
Oh, really?
That's just kind of a fun fact.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
I saw that he tweeted that, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was good to show kind of a glimpse of how Hank was, because it kind of shows he had kind of a rough kid. It seemed like he got bullied and picked on. And
right. Which I feel like we could have kind of assumed
that,
from some of the stuff he said before, but this, actually kind of shows it. But Detective Nina or Detective Meyer, I should say, she's visiting Hank and is kind of asking him exactly what happened. And he says that John did it. It was with his bat and he came in late at night, yada, yada, yada. And I just... even then, I'm like, of course John did it.
I can't believe you believed it.
I'm pretty gullible, I guess. But
I was like, there's no way John did it.
But I didn't think of a reason of why Hank would have done it to himself. Which clearly now we know that Hank did it to himself.
I didn't think that Hank did it to himself.
You thought someone else did it.
I thought someone else did it, but I just knew it wasn't John for some reason.
I mean, I know this is like way farther into the episode, but can we talk about the scene where Hank beats himself? I mean, that was gnarly. You got to be pretty sick and twisted to hit yourself that hard with a baseball bat. Repeatedly.
And just destroying your house to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, you want to clean that up after? I don't know.
And then, of course, savage Detective Meyer, she's like, oh, you love this? It reminds you of your mom? Knocks it over.
Like, yeah. Even though this was the first episode where I don't feel bad for Hank. I had always found myself feeling bad for him. In this episode, I was like, no, Hank, that's not cool.
I didn't feel bad for him, but I was like... okay, I kind of get it. Even though, I mean, I don't get you ever, like, hurting yourself to the degree that he did, of course.
So strange.
But I'm also, like, I get wanting their family, like, okay, they did this to you. I mean, they didn't force him to confess, so it's not like he keeps continuously blaming him being in jail for so long on them, which, sure, okay, ultimately it's their fault. They're the ones who said it was you without a lot of evidence, but they didn't force him to confess to a crime that he didn't commit. He did that all on his own because they had other, not so great stuff on him. But so I get him being mad at them about that, of course, and then with the whole restraining order thing for no apparent reason, even that because Adam was the one who went to visit him.
Yeah.
Like, I get feeling like you can't really live in your own home because they live right across the street, so he's not comfortable. I get wanting to hurt them, but I just think maybe there was a less painful way to go about it.
Well, in my head, too, I don't understand how he thought he was going to get away with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
I don't know why he thought that no one was going to figure out.
Well, I think he thought, oh, I got his bat. His fingerprints are all over it. There you go.
Which
There's
was
nothing
almost
to corroborate his story.
Of why he got busted.
Yeah.
Because, since we're getting into this now, Nina, because at first Nina thinks maybe John could have done it.
Right.
She has some doubts about him. And then they show after her conversation with, I forget his
Claire.
name. No, with the other police guy.
Oh, we'll call him FBI guy.
FBI guy.
Sure.
And it says something like, why would he leave the bat? And she starts realizing it was so obvious that someone set him up.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bat, if you're going to use your bat that has your son's initials on it to hurt someone, you're not leaving that bat there.
Right. That's like killer / whatever 101.
You don't
Never
leave the weapon. So, and then obviously, he couldn't have gotten rid of it because he knocked himself out, and then obviously it's just going to fall to the ground.
Right.
But he didn't do it. I don't think he fully thought it through.
Yeah.
I think he thought it was a good idea, and then he didn't fully plan this out.
Right. And so the reason he do you think that he saw Adam leaving the house that night? Because they said that was one of the things in the cop story. They said that the alarm system was off, so they couldn't see John leaving the house or not because there was a video camera. And so now we learned tonight that it was Adam that was leaving, or we saw him type in the code and everything, but he said he was leaving because he wanted to make sure that he could leave. So I wonder if Hank saw Adam. Well, no, he didn't actually leave though, right?
They didn't really touch on that.
Yeah, he said something of this, or he wanted to make sure that he could, but I don't know if he actually left or not. But we know that Hank saw John in the window, but now we know that John they argued, but John left and went home.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I don't know if Hank thought that far into it, seeing someone leave or anything. I think he just had this plan, and I'm
going deeper into it than Hank did.
You know what I think, too, though, is I don't think it was planned when he initially had that confrontation with John. I think it sparked in his head once he saw that bat. They had that confrontation. They had that little fight, and then I think he saw that bat and saw an opportunity, and I think that's why this plan wasn't very well thought out. Yeah. I think it came to him, he acted on it right away, and that's what happened.
Well, there you go. I mean, Hank is a crazy. It seems like Hank is a crazy anyway, so I'm not surprised.
He's looking pretty nuts right now.
But, well, literally and physically, of course. So we're a lot of tonight's episode was going, normally they go 10 years back or 9 years back, and it was more so recent, or it was a few days ago or something like that. But we know that Claire, of course, we know she's running for governor, but she's really close to being right in line with the current, or with the incumbent governor. And an arrest for John is gonna do nothing but mess her up. So Willa, of course, being Willa, once they find out, or Nina comes to the house and starts to ask John about it, and Willa's like, what's happening? This could hurt the race. This could hurt everything. Yeah. And one of the more surprising scenes, but just happened a little later as well, was when Willa asked John, because she just thought that he did it, I guess, to take a plea. And Claire said, no, he's not taking a plea. Yeah. I was surprised by that. So I wonder if they're trying to rekindle the romance with Claire and John.
I definitely think that. Because it was weird, because after Willa brought that up, taking a plea, I don't know if Willa necessarily thought her dad did it, but I think her mind is just what's going to look good in the image. And she knew a trial would take too long, and so I think she just thought a plea bargain would be the quickest way to just put it under the table,
right?
You know, be done with it. And I was very surprised too that Claire was like, no, we're not doing that. And it kind of goes back to last week's episode. She finally confronted
Nina.
That was last week, yeah, that she confronted Nina about it.
Stop sleeping with my husband.
Yes, that was so great. But
good for her.
I was gonna say, someone actually commented and was like, that was the first time she said something in 10 years. I was kind of surprised by that too.
That's a little, but I think she didn't say anything for so long because she wanted to keep him, and I think she thought that if she said something, he would automatically be gone.
Yeah.
Which is weird because she's such like a strong, independent, stand-up woman in this instance, but then we see this huge insecurity.
Yeah.
In another way. But I think it's good to kind of showcase that for her character because we see that she's not just this like rock solid person all the time.
Yeah, and I definitely do think that they're trying to rekindle something between her confronting Nina and her kind of standing up for him. There was one line, what did John say? Because you see them being intimate for the first time ever.
That was like are you kidding me?
It was so shocking because
he gets in the shower with her?
They never show any sort of intimacy between them. They haven't at all. Even in the flashbacks, really, you know? Right. There was nothing, and I thought it was such a good moment between them, and he just said, you never doubted me.
And Nina did doubt him.
Yes, and I loved that, you know, because that showed a completely different side of Claire.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing them being a little more intimate, and I think it'd be great if they kind of get back on track. After 10 years, I feel like they deserve to be happy together.
I think so too, but I think that we're not going to get off that easy.
Yeah.
And that they're not going to like put this Nina and John thing in our minds and then like, oh, Claire and John are
back.
Good. But also it could be a really interesting plot twist just to kind of see Nina go crazy about them being back together.
How Nina reacts to it.
I'm sure she would go 100% nuts. So after we learn that, you know, she's really close to the incumbent governor and that this potential arrest could, of course, hurt the race, one of the more kind of like random scenes is we didn't see much of Adam tonight, really. Nope. I mean, we did, but not
too much.
One of his kind of, and I wrote down his line that he said, I think they're all like sitting in the kitchen, and he just randomly says, one awesome thing about the bunker, no math.
I know.
Because they're talking about the numbers about something, and I'm like,
they were trying to get, I believe they're trying to get him back in school.
Yes, but they were doing some kind of addition at the time. I don't know.
I actually thought that moment in the kitchen was the first time that we've seen them acting somewhat like a normal family.
Yeah.
It was kind of a more playful conversation, and, you know, John comes in, and also they had that cast on John's arm. I think they were trying to get you to think that
he said the dog.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that was
the dog.
part of them trying to get the viewers to believe that, okay, maybe he did hurt Hank.
Right.
I think that was a little...
Probably so.
Yeah.
Another moment in the kitchen, we see Adam get a postcard from the creepy man. And he talks about this good boy list. So apparently he and the man who potentially / not potentially kept him in a bunker. We don't know if that happened at this point, still, of course. But he had this good boy list of if he was going to be a good boy, he was going to take him to all of these different places.
Yes.
And we see the creepy man with his wife traveling to all of the... Doug, of course. Doug. I still call him...
he is creepy.
Like, the creepy man.
So we can still call him creepy man. That's okay.
But a.k.a. Doug.
Doug.
He is traveling with his pregnant wife / fiance, I'm not sure which one, to all of these places and sending him these postcards. So does this mean now that we know creepy man is the person who kept Adam? Or do we still not know that for sure? They haven't said... He's the one.
Yeah.
But they're
definitely leading you to think that, but like I said, it's too easy.
He can't just be no one in the story.
I know, he's definitely significant. I just don't know how. I don't think that he had Adam. I could be totally wrong on that, but I feel since the beginning, it's been way too obvious that it would be him.
Right.
And I feel like there's going to be a twist
There's
that
gotta
throws
be a
it all
twist.
off.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and it's really funny actually because I was looking at Twitter and everyone always comments. People think something's gonna happen. He's gonna do something to his pregnant wife.
Yeah. Oh,
or
I
whatever.
always do.
Everyone's
Because
like,
he
please
looked at
don't
her
kill the
like-
pregnant wife. I know, and I'm like, oh, that'd be awful because she's so oblivious.
Yeah.
To anything that's
I thought
happening.
he was gonna kill her when she walked into the shed, and then like she's standing there like, what?
I know,
And
and
that
it's
was last
just,
week, and he walks in. It was the crib.
Yeah.
So I guess Creepy Man does nice things.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But see, okay, so I think tonight is one of the biggest ways that they've said, oh, this is the man that's been keeping him. But also, of course, they didn't directly say it. And it could be potentially that someone is like following this man in order to set him up. Because they, even though you see him holding the postcard, that is exactly like the one that Adam got, of course, but we don't see him sending it. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, that's one of the biggest mysteries to me at this point is like, what is his significance? Because I also think it's a little too easy. But
yeah, someone just commented that they don't think it's the kidnapper.
No.
Alex said
who is
definitely not Adam's kidnapper.
Definitely not.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
Well, I think it's too easy, but then what is his significance in the story?
I know. I'm assuming we'll find out
That
eventually.
someone's following him and setting him up. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or I think someone's conniving and someone's running the show, but he's kind of the pawn that does all the dirty deeds.
Oh, he's the hitman.
You know, yeah. I think someone on the end maybe tells him what's going on so he can avoid all the trouble, but he's doing all the dirty work.
That makes sense.
That's what I think.
But, okay, I was just reading this in my notes, that when he and his wife's girlfriend / fiance, whatever she is to him, are sitting at they're in Cape Canaveral, which is the first place that Adam gets a postcard from, and they're sitting outside at like a little restaurant type place, and he had the magazine in front of him, and remember he had torn the strip to show like a boy's face.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened or what.
I mean, they're clearly showing us that like he has some obsession with boys. But then you see, and then at the very end of the episode, there's the room that he, the cinder block room where he puts like just a little stuffed rabbit in it. I mean, that's not an extremely inviting room. So it's got to be for, I don't know, for some sort of something. Right?
The room to me was weird. I wasn't expecting it to just be an empty place like that because in my head then I was thinking maybe he did have Adam and this was the bunker and not the other place.
But Adam said that bunker was the bunker.
I know, but Adam's not. You don't know if
Adam
Adam's
is also lying.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was weird too because they showed that he had given a stuffed animal.
I just thought of the best prediction. I'm sorry. It literally just came to me. So I apologize there. Continue what you were saying.
So Doug gave his wife a stuffed animal for their unborn kid, and then he put another stuffed animal downstairs. So it's almost as though he finds, if he took Adam or whatever, he looked at him as almost he was a son or something.
That makes sense.
And it's just leaving it there like upon his return.
But also like maybe if he's planning on kidnapping another kid, he wants him to be like I just kidnapped you, here's like a treat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually bugging me because I want to know what his purpose is.
I know.
So
what will we ever know? I have no idea. Kind of while all this is going on, John ends up getting arrested. They didn't really have much to go off of besides the bat, but it's like, how are you going to tell, or even the FBI guy said, he's like, how are we going to say no to this man who was wrongfully put in jail for so long?
Yeah.
Even though I keep thinking, I'm like, he admitted to it.
I know.
He said he did it. So I feel a little less sympathetic for Hank every week, just like you were saying.
Yeah.
But they're like, he's saying that he did it. Here's the bat. What's going to happen? So John's arrested, but then of course he quickly gets out. But while this is while he's getting arrested, there are scenes of Hank going to a bakery. And, which I'm like, hell yeah, Hank.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to get this cake and I'll have it right now. And so he gets the cake and she asks him if he wants a writing on it or whatever she calls it. And he just puts, I win.
I was so curious to what it was going to say on the cake.
I know.
And then I didn't even think the title of the episode could be a possibility, which is now you know where the episode title came from.
Right.
But
I was thinking like, I wasn't thinking that he was going to put I win, but as soon as I saw it, I
didn't think so either.
You go, Hank.
Also, it was funny because Andrew McCarthy, who plays Hank, directed this episode, and then I looked, and he directed the puppies episode too. And so he's he's letting himself eat cake and play with puppies.
I mean,
Andrew McCarthy's given himself some good episodes to direct.
He's loving it.
He is.
We have a great flashback kind of soon after this happened, and it's of John at the park where we hear them while they're in the kitchen in a flashback of a lady that was on Adam's, or like the leader of Adam's phone tree for the baseball team or something like that, talking about a game that they have. And then we find John at the park, and Willa, young Willa, comes up to him and is like, okay, let's go. He's clearly, he
peed himself.
Right. There are beer cans all around him. He was quite wasted.
Side note, did this lady calling to leave them a message not think?
Right. Well, she was the new phone chain leader,
but I'm
so
sorry,
maybe she
this
just
is like
didn't
a
know.
huge story. How did she not know?
She was just really, really excited about being the phone tree leader and didn't.
She wanted to call everyone.
Exactly. But so I thought it was interesting that Willa called Nina to come and get him, and she said she didn't know who else to call. But I mean, clearly she didn't want to call her mom, so who else would she have called at that time? But Nina kind of sends Willa home and says, I got this, I deal with this kind of stuff all the time. Yep. And they probably just and she had him come to her house, and he slept it off, and then that's when they had hooked up. But
I was wondering, that was the first time, right?
I got the vibe that it was the first time.
I got the vibe too.
Yeah.
And then it was also interesting how they showed in her room, she had the wall of all the clippings from the case.
Right.
Yeah. And it was weird because John made a comment about, he started talking about how Claire took all the pictures of him down and covered the heights on the wall. And he also made a point that he thought her grieving was wrong, the way she was grieving.
Well, Nina said, she's like, people grieve differently than others, of course. But I think that's one of the things, we've kind of talked about it before, that really drew John to Nina, because Claire was very, of course she was involved and wanted to remember her son. Mm-hmm. We saw all the stuff about her wanting a funeral, or not wanting a funeral until it was found. Yeah. But she did at the same time, she, like you said, she took down all the pictures, and she wasn't erasing his memory, but she was, in a sense, erasing the memory from, not having to look at it, which I get. It makes sense in my head, but then I also get for him, where it's like, he still existed.
Yeah, he was a big part of our life.
He was a person. He was our son. So I think that is one of the things that they've kind of tried. I think they want us to really, really, really love John, which they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I love John.
But, because they want us to think okay, he just really cared about the memory of a son, and the only reason he got with Nina is because she was so into his son.
They justify his wrongdoing.
Right.
Because it's funny, despite his affair and some of the stuff that he's done, everyone still seems to love him.
Right. It's probably going to be like John did it. No. John did what? I don't even know. But
the people you least expect are going to have a bigger part than we think.
Oh, they always do.
I know.
The little creepy Willow.
Danny and John, I love them both, but I'll be so sad if they have anything to do with it, because they're my favorites. So,
speaking of Danny, the scene with him and Adam, where he says, because Willa initially asked Danny, so what did you do last night? Or you were drunk and left the alarm off.
Pulling the drunk card on him.
She does.
Drunk all the time.
Well, I mean, he basically is drunk all the time.
She's so mean.
She has the reason to say it, I guess. But he knows that it wasn't him, so he asked Adam, where did he go? And that's when he said that he just wanted to be able to get out. But he lets Adam drive his car. And Adam said, it was one of the realest moments with Adam where I was like, ooh, are you the real Adam Warren? Because when they're driving the car, because he's like, I always wanted to drive this car. And it just seemed like he actually really, really meant it. But then he goes and does this insane thing where he's just relaxing and shuts his eyes and leans back and, pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And of course, Danny is freaking out. And I guess he just, he wanted to feel free. I was talking about Talladega Nights earlier. He's like, I want to go fast. But I don't know. That was a different kind of scene. I was like, he just wants to feel.
It's kind of weird. And then it was also interesting because, to me, last episode, you see Danny second guessing himself. He's thinking maybe this is my brother, and he starts almost feeling a little bad. So I thought that was a very brotherly bonding thing that he did.
Yeah.
And It's interesting that they do this in this episode where we find out at the end kind of the DNA test. And it's interesting because Danny from the beginning was the only person to have doubts. Mm-hmm. And then right when he stops having doubts,
that's when we find out.
You find out. So it's almost sad because...
But that's what my prediction is about. Oh. It might not be still what we're thinking.
Oh.
I don't know.
Can't wait to hear it.
I know, but it is sad, yes.
But yeah, and also so weird. So when Danny confronted Adam about the alarm, did Adam leave? And if so, where did he go?
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier.
They didn't address if he left or not.
So we saw him last week just turn off the alarm, and I mean, I guess he didn't turn it back on. Or I think they didn't say it, but I think he might have left and then just come back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it's something that we'll find out later, or if it's just going to kind of pass. That's what I'm curious about.
I feel like it's something that would just kind of pass, but yeah. I don't know. It doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't seem that significant, but it probably is. Who knows? Of course, while all this is happening, we see Creepy Man get pulled over. Yes. And I'm like, it's the end of you, Creepy Man. You're caught.
Thought so too. I for sure thought.
But so. It's not. Also, an important thing from earlier in the episode that I kind of skipped over a little bit. We didn't see much of Bridie tonight, but probably the most important thing of the episode, she is getting a paternity test. So we saw her, of course, get the Q-tip or whatever it was from Adam's room last week, and then she got something from John. The coffee cup from John.
Yeah.
And she's submitting it to a lab and telling her editor that she's doing a paternity test. We now know the results that say he is not the father, to go off Maury. That's my favorite. Maury
is not the father.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, also, this is random side note, but what the freak? Willa loves Bridie.
Yes.
That was last week's episode, but whenever I was watching, I'm like, really?
Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting storyline. I kind of like it.
But that was a figment of her imagination. That wasn't like something that she was remembering, right?
See, I think that they might have a little past that just no one knows about yet.
Because of tonight's episode, or that was the preview for next week that we see.
Yeah, see, I think that maybe they had a little past happen, and
right.
But maybe not. Maybe Bridie just has her gaydar on high.
That's possible,
and she just knows.
Someone made
she is a lesbian lifestyle blogger,
right? And someone made the comment tonight. They're like, "Oh, you're not taking me to another lesbian bar," but that just could be because she's the lifestyle blogger, but I don't know. So I told you, or we talked about how the Creepy Man got pulled over, and this is one of another thing that's kind of set up to make us think, oh, he's someone, or he's the person who took Adam, because he sees a picture on the wall, and it's like looking for kidnapper or abductor or whatever it said, and it definitely looks like him. But then again, like, everyone kind of looks like
someone actually commented on this and was like, is it just me, or does that picture not look like him?
No,
it could definitely look more like him, that's for sure.
I wouldn't look at that picture and be like, oh, that's me, I should be freaking out. But it looks like a kind of picture if I said, tall white male with brown hair,
very generic,
and thick eyebrows, and that's exactly what they would draw. So it was kind of weird to me that he was so like freaked out.
Yeah, he was definitely freaked out, and he wanted to go home. He wanted to cancel the trip.
Yeah.
And all the people are waiting at the Statue of Liberty. And it was bothering me so much, though, that the cops didn't even he was acting pretty fishy at the station. Yeah. He was being kind of weird and jittery. And I thought that the wife, too, was going to see the picture and maybe think something.
Yeah.
But obviously nothing came of that.
You're right. It didn't look enough like him.
It didn't look enough like him.
And he even thinks about sneaking away, or he's like, let's just go.
Yeah. Isn't the wife kind of thinking, we can't just leave?
Right. Well, that's something.
But she was like, yeah, let's go.
She's like, what? We can do that? I'm like, no.
She's kind of ditzy, yeah.
Walk away.
They picked the perfect wife for whatever sketchiness this guy's up to.
Exactly. But he ends up getting away anyways. He says that he just didn't have a registration because it's a new car.
Yeah.
Which we know because he sold what did he say? Oh, the truck that they smashed. So he had to get a new car.
And it was funny because right when they went to him getting pulled over, it was right after Nina and FBI guy had said that they put some kind of alert out on the highway that they were on.
Right.
So I for sure thought, okay, maybe they just see this car and are going to just checking cars, to see if anyone pops up. But obviously
they're not.
It's not that
simple. Supposedly, I guess. at this point in the show, John is still, or no, he's not in jail because they bailed him out immediately,
Yes.
of course. But like we said earlier, Nina is kind of suspecting him, and we see Claire pay a little visit to Nina. And one of my more favorite scenes of the episode are the two of them talking, and she's like, we're a party of 6. We're not a party of 5. You've been in between us for 10 years. It's time for you to get on board.
Yeah.
And she's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's awkward between
Nina
them.
definitely thinks he did it. And at this point I thought, oh, maybe Claire thinks that he does too.
Mm-hmm.
But she's saying, like, it doesn't matter if he did it or not. Basically, you need to
fix it.
We're acting like he didn't no matter what.
Yeah.
And you're not playing cop in this situation. You're a part of us, and you need to figure it out.
Yeah, she's almost kind of blackmailing her in a sort. You're doing what I'm saying
true.
because, you know.
But I feel like Nina almost likes it. Like, yes, you're right. I do need to save him. I do need to.
Because then after it shows Nina kind of, after that conversation was when it showed her with FBI guy having the doubts about why would he leave the bat. And
let's talk about Nina going to Hank's house a little bit more. Like I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but I mean, that's where we for sure find out, okay, clearly he just did this to himself, and they flash to the scenes of him beating himself with the bat.
That was cringeworthy.
Yeah. But she's also, and she takes a lot on herself with these cases. Like,
yes.
I mean, obviously it's a TV show, so would it happen in real life? I don't know,
maybe.
But I like that she wasn't letting Hank get off easy in the slightest.
Yeah, and she made him squirm. You know, she didn't, when she got there, she didn't straight up just say, I know you did this. Because at this point, I'm assuming she knew that he kind of was framing John.
Right.
But I loved how she made him squirm. She wasn't very direct with him, and you could see him getting nervous, and he's thinking, and he says, I want you to leave now.
Right.
And that's when she's like, boom, to the
knock over this thing to remind you of your mama.
Yes.
Silly.
That was brutal. That was brutal.
That's what I'm saying. Nina is savage.
Yeah, she is. She's badass.
Yeah. What about the bats being all over the driveway?
That was weird.
Okay, because we see earlier in the episode, Bridie approaches Willa and says that she needs someone on the inside to make it, to spin everything in a good way for them. And Willa, of course, is like, why would you do that for us? Or, you know, prove that you would do that.
Helping.
And so she starts this whole plan to say, like, oh, I see a lot of support for John Warren, hashtag Papa Bear. And all of the bats in the driveway said hashtag Papa Bear.
Yeah.
So I don't understand
Was it a malicious thing? Or was it...
Well,
that's what I don't get, the bat thing.
I mean, it seemed supportive in the sense because the bats did say hashtag Papa Bear, but then also, like, who just dumps 100 bats in
First of all,
someone's
that's expensive.
driveway?
I think bats are pretty expensive.
You took that to the extreme. Should have gone the cheaper route there.
The way they filmed it and everything, too, it seemed kind of creepy that they were there. So that's why I didn't know if it was...
a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then now thinking back on it, maybe it was a support
I don't think it was a support thing, because you would, if you're going to support someone, you're not just going to drop something off in their driveway that could potentially, like...
But who did that? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, what?
You would need like a dump truck or something to get all those bats unloaded without anyone in the house hearing you or seeing you.
They dropped all the bats on the ground and no one heard a thing.
Yeah, no one heard.
I don't know. But she says in the scene where John and Claire are in the shower, she says, like, I did it. I promise I didn't start hashtag Papa Bear. And I'm like, well, I would be proud that you did, because you made him look good. But
I think it's definitely there was a hashtag Mama Bear.
Oh, there was?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I forget what episode it was. It was the episode when they had...
She's like, the interview.
Yes, and she's like, he is a monster or something.
Right. Yeah. And then she's talking about shipping
Mama
everybody.
Bear. Yeah.
Well, so clearly it was a bad thing then, because she's like, I promise I didn't start hashtag Papa there. Or Papa Bear. Papa there? What the heck did I just say? I don't even know. Okay, so that's one of the more major things that happens in the episode. We see, like, we already talked about the creepy man in the bunker, and now kind of the final few minutes, which is where we find out everything. Nina says, now we don't know exactly what she wants to do, but she approaches both John and Claire, and she says, I think I know how to get Hank, but we need to use Adam as bait. Or she says, like,
Doug.
if you want...
Not to get Hank.
But because she's talking about, like, do you want, or I have a way to get Hank out of your lives forever.
Oh, she said Hank?
I thought she said Hank.
I don't think she said Hank. No,
ask them in chat.
Hank.
Did you say, because she doesn't know who Doug is yet. They don't know who Doug is.
Yeah, but they don't know his name, but they have his picture and stuff because they showed Adam.
Oh, I thought she said
No, because what had happened, they showed them in the police thing.
Right.
And they had all the postcards laid out. And she said something about, I think this guy misses Adam. I think he's lonely. Because they were wondering, they're like, is he messing with him? Is he punishing him by sending him these postcards?
What am I thinking then? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, I definitely think you're right.
And then they were looking at the postcards and they go, how isn't he in all these places at once? Then they flash to the guy in Hawaii who was mailing a postcard, and his wife or girlfriend was wondering, why are you sending that?
Right.
He said, some dad's playing a game with his son. And then that's when she realized, I think that this guy just misses Adam, and then they're going to use Adam as bait to just get him.
You're definitely right. It was not for Hank, so please forgive me, everyone. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But
yeah, Jasmine, someone referred to, they said, they didn't say Hank, they said him. So, HH, it's understandable.
Sorry, my ears are apparently bad today. Well, so they're going to be using Adam as bait for something. And then, I know we said it earlier, but the other major thing that happened at the end of the episode was Bridie saying to her editor that she got the DNA results back and Adam is not him. Adam Warren. Or she was comparing, Adam is not John's son.
Yes.
I should say.
But I should say this too.
What?
I just looked up an article. Shoot, what's her name? Oh, okay, Jenna Bans, the creator. Yeah. Because I guess people are saying maybe it's just not John's kid. Is that what you're thinking?
There goes my prediction.
Jenna Bans, she's the creator. She did an interview and said this is not a bait and switch. She's like, we are not taking this back. It is not him. They said that in this episode.
Oh, well, that's major.
Yeah, they said in this episode, because in the beginning, it kind of seems as though it was a low-cost DNA test that Bridie's doing.
Right.
So she said that throughout the episode, they kept doing little things to kind of make you think that you weren't going to find out or that it wasn't accurate.
Right.
But she said, no, it is not him. And she said that the second half of the season is going to dig deeper and the family's going to start to find out that it's an imposter.
Right.
So it's really not him, everyone. It is really not him.
Okay, well, on that note, let's go into predictions then.
Yes. Okay, I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Well, no.
Now,
I'm so sad.
AfterBuzz TV.
I'm sorry to ruin your prediction.
So, literally, that moment that I had earlier was I wrote Claire and Hank because I was thinking, I'm like, maybe that's why Hank kept Adam's stuff for so long, like the little mittens or whatever it was that he had in
that
the
would
can.
have been an interesting one.
I was like, maybe Claire, which obviously we've seen no sign of Claire having any sort of connection with Hank. She clearly hates him.
But hey,
I'm like, you never know. And that's why I was like, oh, maybe that's the reason why he's connected to this so much. Because we know that he's connected because that he was the accused, of course. He was the one who was in jail. But they keep doing other things that lead us to believe he's connected in some other way.
I think he's definitely involved. I don't know how, but
exactly, we just don't know how. So there was my major bombshell prediction that is not correct. But okay, so we've been saying both me, you, and Nadine throughout the entire thing that he's not the real Adam.
Yes, and we're right.
So now, so now we just have to figure out why he is there, or who he actually is.
I know someone, I don't know if it was in the comments or I read it earlier.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned, does Adam have a twin? I don't think that would make as much sense because...
Well, they would know if he had
that's
a
what
twin.
I'm saying.
She gave birth to him.
So I don't think that is it.
Yeah.
And someone also said, okay, I'm starting to think that either this imposter had something to do with Adam's kidnapping or vice versa. They think that maybe Adam was, or the kid who's pretending to be Adam was maybe down there with Adam, and Adam, the real Adam, maybe got away. So this person knows the story,
right?
Which is a possibility, but I still think that Doug is helping someone.
Yeah,
I don't know who though. I still think Claire and Willa, and definitely with the previews for next week, that Willa knows something.
That's my biggest prediction now that we know Adam is not Adam, is that Willa did something. Because in the I keep saying flashback, but in the preview for next week, we see her saying, like, what did you do?
I was like, no.
And
what happened?
I imagine, I don't know. At this point, I think that Willa did something that led somebody to take the real Adam, and I don't know. I'm just blaming it on Willa at this point. I don't know exactly what I'm blaming on her, but I'm just blaming it on her. Let's say that.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that someone in the family is involved.
Exactly. Well, they have to be.
Yeah. And it's another thing, though, where John. Willa looks kind of suspicious to everyone, so maybe it's not Willa. I don't know. This show does such a good job of switching things up, I feel like.
John.
And I'm so curious to where it's going to go. And when I was reading that interview with Jenna, she said that she likes the second half better than the first half.
Oh gosh, it's already so amazing.
I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of twists and turns that we don't expect, and I'm so excited.
Well,
I hate waiting a whole week for another episode.
I know. Every episode something happens that it just completely throws all of my theories. Someone
just said too, maybe Hank did kill the real Adam.
Ooh, that's a good one, because he definitely has to be connected more than just the accused, the wrongfully accused.
So,
but then where does the creepy man come in?
I don't know. I can't even guess anything else because my head is gonna go nuts.
My predictions are just everywhere. I don't even know. Well, another great episode. Thank y'all so much for joining us. As always, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere at April Whisenhant. Where can I find you?
Hi, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
You can find us all at AfterBuzz TV. Be sure to comment. We want to know what you thought and tell us your predictions for next week. Download, rate, do all of the above. And we'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.